It begins with a simple call, the call of the wild. Aron Ralston, an adventure enthusiast, was drawn by the rugged beauty of Utah's Blue John Canyon. An experienced climber, he was well aware of the risks but was seduced by the promise of solitude, fresh air, and breathtaking views. On April 26, 2003, Aron set out on what he believed would be a routine day hike, blissfully unaware that he was about to enter a nightmare that would test his very limits. His backpack was packed with essentials, a camera to capture the stunning views, and a spirit filled with determination. As he trekked deeper into the canyon, surrounded by towering walls of rock and the sound of his own breath, he felt alive. But that sense of vitality would soon be shattered, replaced by the cold grip of fear and desperation. As Aron navigated the rugged terrain, he felt an exhilarating sense of freedom, the kind only found when enveloped by nature's arms. He had explored this area before, yet each visit brought new sights and feelings. But on this particular day, as he descended into the narrows of the canyon, he made a fateful decision: to venture off the established trails. It was a choice driven by the allure of uncharted territory, the thrill of discovery. With every step, the canyon walls grew taller and the ground more uneven. Suddenly, a subtle crack echoed through the air, and in a heartbeat, everything changed. An 800-pound boulder, dislodged from the rock face, crashed down, pinning Aron's right arm against the wall of the canyon. The shock was immediate, the pain agonizing. He was now trapped, alone, and at the mercy of nature. In that moment of entrapment, time seemed to stretch infinitely. Aron struggled violently against the boulder, pushing, pulling, twisting, and turning in a desperate attempt to free himself. Panic set in as the realization dawned on him: he was utterly alone, miles away from help, and with no means of communication. He attempted to shift the massive weight, his adrenaline surging, but the boulder was unyielding, an immovable object that mocked his every effort. "Help! Somebody help me!" he shouted, his voice echoing in the desolate canyon, swallowed by the vast emptiness. As the hours ticked by, the gravity of his situation became more apparent. With every passing moment, he could feel the warmth leaving his arm, his blood circulating more sluggishly. The weight of isolation grew heavier on his mind, and he had to confront a terrifying truth: he could be here for days. As the hours became a blur, Aron faced a grim reality. The canyon's silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of his labored breathing and the occasional rustle of the wind. With no one around, he was forced to rely solely on his wits and will. He took stock of his supplies: a small amount of water, an energy bar, and a multi-tool. With a morbid sense of humor, he joked with himself about his predicament, trying to stave off despair. "Well, Aron, this is one hell of a situation," he mused, his voice a mere whisper in the void. With each passing hour, Aron felt his body deteriorating. Dehydration set in, and he was painfully aware that his arm was becoming increasingly numb. In a moment of clarity, he began to document his ordeal on his camera, speaking into it as if he were leaving behind a message for the world. "If you find this, know that I tried everything to survive." Days turned into a psychological battle. As Aron's physical condition worsened, so did his mental state. The stark reality of his isolation began to seep into his consciousness, breeding fear and hopelessness. The canyon, which had once been a beautiful escape, transformed into a prison, its walls closing in on him. He hallucinated at times, hearing voices and seeing shadows moving just beyond his reach. With his senses heightened by the adrenaline and fear, he began to reflect on his life, recalling moments he had taken for granted: the laughter of friends, family gatherings, the warmth of a loving embrace. These memories became both a comfort and a source of torment. "I can't let this be how it ends," he thought desperately. In his darkest moments, he contemplated the unthinkable, surrendering to the inevitable. But the flicker of hope, however small, kept him fighting. On the fifth day, as despair threatened to swallow him whole, Aron faced a critical choice: to succumb to his predicament or take drastic action. Exhausted and barely able to move, he recalled a survival technique he'd read about in a book: the possibility of self-amputation. The thought made him sick, but the reality of his situation was clear. "I either die here, or I amputate my arm," he whispered, the words feeling foreign yet oddly liberating. With a renewed sense of purpose, he gathered his strength. Using his multi-tool, he first attempted to cut through the soft tissue around his trapped arm. The blade pressed against his skin, and anxiety surged through him. It was a gruesome fight. Each cut was an act of desperation, a step away from life. But as he pushed through the pain, something shifted within him. Determination replaced fear. As Aron began the gruesome process, he realized the reality of what he was about to do. The pain was almost unbearable. Every slice of the knife against his flesh sent shockwaves through his body. He methodically worked through layers of muscle and tissue, each cut feeling like a betrayal of his own body. He gritted his teeth, tears streaming down his face, whispering words of encouragement to himself. "You can do this, Aron. Just keep going." The process felt surreal, like a nightmare he couldn't wake up from, but he pressed on. Finally, when he reached the bone, he was faced with yet another harrowing challenge. He had to break it. There was no other way. With a final surge of adrenaline, he leveraged his strength against the rock wall and snapped his own radius and ulna bones, the sharp crack echoing through the canyon like thunder. Freedom was within reach, but at a terrifying cost. With his arm now free, Aron felt a mix of relief and horror. The weight of the boulder was gone, but the reality of his gruesome self-amputation set in. He could barely comprehend what he had just done. Every instinct screamed at him to rest, but he had to move. There was no time to waste. Summoning every ounce of strength left in his body, he fashioned a crude tourniquet to stem the bleeding and began the long crawl back to civilization. The journey was excruciating. Each movement sent jolts of pain through his body. Blood soaked his clothes, but he was alive, and that thought propelled him forward. As he crawled, he felt a shift within himself, a primal connection to life that he had never experienced before. The canyon that had once been a death trap now became a pathway of survival. He was on the verge of escape, and the spark of hope ignited his spirit. After hours of crawling, Aron finally emerged from the canyon's grip into the open air. He was weak, bloodied, and on the brink of collapse, but he had made it. In the distance, he spotted a group of hikers. With the last of his energy, he shouted for help, his voice raw and hoarse. "Help! Please help me!" The hikers approached, initially skeptical, but their expressions quickly turned to shock as they realized the severity of his condition. They rushed to his side, calling for emergency services while doing their best to stabilize him. Aron could barely hear their voices. The world around him began to blur. As he faded in and out of consciousness, he couldn't shake the feeling of surrealism. He had survived an ordeal that most would not have lived to tell. Aron was airlifted to a nearby hospital where he underwent multiple surgeries to treat his injuries. The physical scars of his ordeal would remain as a constant reminder of his harrowing experience, but the psychological scars ran deeper. He had not only lost his arm but also faced the psychological ramifications of what he had done in the name of survival. Yet, as he lay in that hospital bed, a sense of gratitude washed over him. He had come face to face with death and emerged on the other side. Aron later recounted his experience in a memoir, sharing not only his survival story but the lessons learned about human resilience and the importance of preparation and safety in outdoor adventures. He became an advocate for wilderness safety, often speaking at events to share his story so that others might learn from his experience. In the years following the incident, Aron reflected on his experience and formed a deeper appreciation for life. He realized how easily life could be taken for granted, encapsulated in the moment he found himself staring down the barrel of death. His experience, although traumatic, led him to a path of self-discovery. Aron began to explore new passions beyond outdoor adventures, embracing life with a newfound intensity. He often shared his story with others, emphasizing that survival is not just about physical endurance but also psychological strength. He encouraged individuals to prepare adequately for outdoor activities, advocating for safety measures that could prevent the kind of ordeal he had faced. "We are all capable of more than we think," he often expressed, igniting a spark of hope in those who listened. Aron Ralston's story serves as a sobering reminder of the inherent dangers present in nature, especially for those who venture into the wilderness alone. His experience sheds light not just on survival tactics but also on the psychological resilience required in dire situations. It prompts us to question our relationship with nature, challenging us to recognize both its beauty and its ferocity. Aron's ordeal teaches us the importance of preparation, the necessity of informing others about our plans, and the vital role that mental fortitude plays during crises. His story reverberates beyond just survival. It's a testament to the human spirit's capacity to confront the unimaginable and emerge stronger. As he put it, survival is not just about living, it's about living fully. This message resonates deeply, urging us all to reflect on our lives. What remains unsettling in Aron's story is the question of how unprepared one can be when faced with the wilderness. He had the skills, the knowledge, and the experience, yet one moment's decision took him to the brink of death. The dark truth is the unpredictability of nature. It doesn't care about your plans or your experience. Nature can be both a nurturing teacher and a ruthless adversary. And if that's true, what else are we wrong about in our perception of safety and control in our daily lives? Aron's experience challenges us to confront our vulnerabilities, reminding us that even the most seasoned adventurers must respect the power of nature. Life is fragile, and the lessons learned from Aron's struggle are echoes of a deeper truth we all must face. To this day, we ponder, how prepared are we really for the unexpected? As we conclude this chilling tale of survival, we invite you to reflect on the lessons learned from Aron Ralston. His story is more than just a survival account, it's a reminder of our need to respect nature and prepare adequately for the unknown. We encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever faced a life-threatening situation? What would you do if you were in Aron's shoes? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the complexities of survival, make sure to subscribe to Dark Truth for more gripping stories and unsettling facts that challenge your understanding of the world around us. Until next time, remember to stay curious and prepared.